Hi everyone. This short presentation is just going to serve as a general course introduction. You can see the list of the topics that I'm going to cover in this presentation. I'm going to spend the most time talking about the last two bullets, so assignments and evaluations. I'm going to give you an overview of each of the assignments for the class. And then on the last slide, I'm going to actually give you your introduction to the forum moderation and participation assignment, which is basically something that'll be ongoing from units 1 through 7, in which you'll be in small groups and engaging in online discussions of the readings. So let me just go over really quickly the essential questions and the course objectives. These are both in the syllabus, and I would like you to read the syllabus closely to familiarize yourself with them. But just to give you a little bit of a sense of my thinking in creating these essential questions. The first one, what is literacy and how do scholars and practitioners with different theoretical perspectives answer this question differently? That really is an enormous focus of this class. The purpose of this question is not just to think about other scholars and practitioners outside the bounds of our course, but also ourselves. And what are our own understandings of what literacy is? How do those relate to our tacit or explicit theories about literacy, teaching, and learning? And how might we differ from ourselves in that regard? The second one, what is the relationship between theory, research, and practice? Again, if you should have already done the course orientation, and perhaps on the landing page of ReggieNet, you watched the video of me in which I explain the course text. But just to reiterate that to me, theory, research, and practice, although they are separate or separable concepts, they're really, in practice, they're not all that different. So that when a researcher is exploring a topic, they're engaging with practices and asking questions about practice. And both of those things are tied to theories and how they understand literacy. You're only going to engage in the kinds of theories or understandings about literacy that we bring to our research and our practice really inform the kinds of practices and research questions we'll ask. So, and then the third essential question is how have theoretical perspectives on literacy shifted over time? And we'll get a sense of that as we go through the readings over the course of the semester. But toward the end of the semester, some of our readings will focus on that more specifically, not just to theoretical perspectives in general and how they've shifted over time, but actually how our own theories and theoretical orientations have shifted over time and might continue to shift. In terms of the course objectives, again, see the syllabus. One resource you might look at, and this is, I'm going there right now, you can only see part of this page, but you'll see within the orientation, you'll see this page, which is an orientation to the course. And if you click on, again, you're not seeing that very clearly, but if you click on course outline, you'll see this. This table, and it's just an overview. It's not meant to cover every single thing in the class, but the reason I'm pointing this out is the center column, learning outcomes, will map onto our course objectives. So you can kind of see how I'm keeping different objectives and outcomes for you all in mind as I've planned the 8 units of this course. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. Okay, let's move on here. Expectations for reading and engagement. I do expect you to keep up with the readings and to engage in them closely and critically. If there is a reading that I only need or want you to scan rather than read closely, then I will say that in the activities for that, under readings, when I introduce you to each unit. If not otherwise stated as optional or that you need to scan it, then you should read closely and critically. And so this means, among other things, it means engaging outside your areas of expertise. So our master's programs in reading and in teaching and learning are K through 12 degrees. So you may be an amazing pre-K special ed teacher who probably brings way more expertise in that area than I do myself, because I've never taught in that area, nor do I research in those areas. And so you'll be sharing your expertise with others in the class. At the same time, you're also going to have to be delving into and learning from others and the readings and really thinking in detailed and critical ways about other areas, whether they're other grade level experiences, content experiences, or professional domains. So you may be a second grade ESL teacher, but you're also going to have to be really delving into and understanding how the relationships between theory, research, and practice as they pertain to middle level or to high school history or what have you. So I'm really expecting you to get out of your comfort zone. This is also getting out of your comfort zone and expecting you to be uncomfortable in times also is related to my expectation that you will question and critique your own previous perspectives and assumptions. So regardless of whether your theories or understandings of literacy, whether those are sort of at the forefront of your mind, or you already sort of have a sense of, yes, this is how I teach literacy, this is how I believe it works, I'm going to expect you to seriously entertain and other perspectives and even to critique your own. So that's always a space of discomfort, but it's in those spaces of discomfort or disequilibria that learning happens. So the places where that's going to occur, I think the most are going to be as you engage in the readings, as you engage with others in the class about their practices and their understandings about literacy, teaching, and learning, and in the forums in particular. So one of the things I'm going to encourage that you do is in the orientation to the course, go in and make sure you click on that document that's there that has to do with critical reading. That's also going to help you when you are the moderator, well, and participant in the discussion forums, because one of the things ultimately I'm going to be evaluating you on is your willingness to really question and think critically about the readings, about different theories, etc. And so that means crafting questions and thinking about them in critical ways during discussions. All right, let's talk a little bit about course schedule and assignments. If you've already read through the syllabus, you've probably already seen this chart, but I just want to give you a little bit more information. Sometimes it's nice to hear it orally as well as just as well as just reading the syllabus. So you'll notice if you look in this middle column and points and the percentage of the final grade that I've really tried to distribute the points pretty evenly, with some exceptions, across the course. So you'll notice that the one assignment that is perhaps weighted least is your first paper, the short theoretical paper. So I'll go ahead and talk about that one first. That's one that you're going to do after, is it unit, I think I introduced that in unit 2 and you turn it in unit 3, so about maybe 5 weeks into the class. And you're really going to be just writing a pretty straightforward academic paper where you compare and contrast theories from different standpoints. That is not worth many points because it is relatively short. It's, I think, 4 to 6 pages, 5 to 7, something like that. But also because that's really going to be my first opportunity to understand and get to know each of you as academic writers. And so I didn't want to wait. And also that's a paper where you're not going to have much of a chance to have me read a draft before you then go make revisions. So I didn't want to weigh it too heavily. But that's going to help me get to know you as writers. I'll be giving you feedback about your understandings of different theories and your writing, and then you can take those recommendations into account in later writing activities or assignments, which will be a little bit more heavily weighted. So that's the purpose behind that. You'll notice that both Participation in online activities and discussion forums, as well as your final assignment, are pretty equally weighted. So in terms of participation in online activities, that's really like your class participation points that you might have in a face-to-face class. During each unit, there are going to be different engagements that you'll do or interact with. Some of them might be collaboratively watching a video and then going into a Google Doc with some peers and collaboratively generating connections between what you saw in the video and the readings, right? There'll be other kinds of engagements and activities in each unit. And so those tend to vary in points from like 2 to 5 points apiece, sometimes more. And again, there are more specifics with regard to that in the syllabus. And honestly, and I guess I could say the same thing with discussion forums, which I'll introduce in a minute. Those really, I think those are two places where so much of your learning happens during the course that, that's why they're weighted as good 40%, or sorry, 20% rather than just 10% of your grade, right? Instance of practice. Oh, I love this assignment. Of course, I'm not doing it. You are, so you might have a different perspective on that. But it's a multi-part assignment where you're going to be partnered with someone else in the class, and you're going to write a sort of an extended vignette, and really kind of like a narrative, a descriptive narrative of some of your an instructional practice of yours, or a lesson, or a unit, or what have you. And then you're going to swap with your partner. You're going to read them and analyze them and confer about them in a Zoom video conference. After that, you're then going to analyze your partner's vignette of their instruction from different theoretical angles. Once you've done that, then you're going to have a second Zoom video conference in which you debrief and you share with your partner the different theoretical, the different ways that different theories help explain their practices, or the theoretical insights into their practices. And you'll collaboratively brainstorm some ways that those pedagogies might shift based on those analyses. And so you can, pardon me, you can envision that a little bit like a collaborative coaching discussion. The final assignment is also multi-part, and that one you're going to do in small groups. And it is a deep dive into some literature, research, and practitioner literature focused on one of two areas of literacy practice and research that are particularly timely or kind of hot right now in the field. So you have a choice between doing a deep dive into close reading or doing a deep dive into trauma and literacy instruction. I'll be providing you with a set of readings, and then you'll, as a group, explore some other resources. And then you're going to generate a professional development presentation based on that deep dive, in which you're connecting theory, research, and practice. So that's the overview of our. Oh wait, I haven't talked. Oh no, I'll talk about the discussion forums on the last slide. So that's an overview of the assignments. If you go into the ReggieNet sidebar and you can click on sort of a unit schedule for the semester, and you can see where these assignments are going to fall across the semester, and specific due dates for each of them. I'll also make sure, as I introduce each assignment across the semester, that when I do that I present to you and tell you what the specific due dates are. So anyway, so that's that. Next page. Oh yeah, so always helpful to know how you're going to be evaluated. So one of the things that you'll notice, and I want to draw your attention to here, is that unlike some undergraduate classes, an A is 92 points and higher. That's pretty typical for many of our master's classes, although that might be might not be uniform across our classes. But just so you're aware of that, I want you to know that when it comes to points, I believe that any process of evaluation, no matter how careful or seemingly objective somebody is, there's always some subjectivity involved. I always round up. If you end up with 181 points in the class, I'm going to go back into your assignments and your participation grade and say, is there a little wiggle room here? Might I have evaluated that a little bit differently? And see if that grade might be boosted up a bit. So whenever somebody is really borderline, I almost always err on going with the higher points or higher grade. And I always round up in terms of percentages. If your grade calculates out to a 91.1%, you're going to get a 92, which is an A. So I just want you to know that. I would like you to always reach out to me if you have any questions at all about how I have evaluated you for a particular assignment or a discussion forum or your course grade or what have you. My goal is to be clear and transparent. And if I haven't been, if you don't understand my feedback, if you're not sure why my feedback to you translated to a certain point range or what have you, please reach out to me. Nobody's perfect. And I don't want you to feel as if you're being evaluated unfairly or in an unclear manner. So again, my goal is to be clear and transparent. So if I'm not, that's on me, and please reach out to me so that I know that and that I can improve my teaching and assessment practices. So that's that. So on to the last slide, which is your introduction to the forum moderation and participation assignment. So you may have already delved into the assignment guidelines in this first unit, and that's great. But just for those of you who haven't yet, you will want to go in and carefully read the assignment guidelines. But also, sometimes hearing the overview is helpful. So you're going to be engaging in small group discussion forums between Units 1, which is now, and Unit 7. There will be no forums in the very last unit of the class. The small groups will be 4 to 5 people in each, and all of these will be graded at 6 points each with a total of 42 points. However, these will be graded a little bit differently. So in Unit 1, your points are just participation points. Like if you go in there and interact with people, you're good, right? I'm going to moderate Unit 1 so that I can provide an example to you of how, when it's your turn to moderate, you will be able to do that. Beyond the first unit, the forums will be graded according to some criteria, such as going into the forums more than once, repeatedly, engaging thoughtfully and meaningfully and critically. And so when you go into the assignment guidelines that are in ReggieNet, you're going to see the evaluation criteria. So make sure you look there. Starting in, and I'm jumping around on this slide, I apologize, but right now I'm here. So starting with Unit 2 and going through Unit 5, you're going to be taking turns in your small groups moderating, and I've given guidelines for both moderating and participating as a respondent in the forums in the assignment guidelines. So make sure that you check those out. Note that the small groups are going to be reconfigured for Units 6 and 7, and that's because those forums are going to coincide with and sort of mesh with the deep dive assignment. So you'll then be in a group with other people who are doing the same deep dive as you. So when you go into the assignment guidelines, you'll see that I've already posted you'll see a table which has the groups, who's in which group for the forum, discussion forums, and then who's moderating in which units. If you go in there and you're like, wait a second, that's the worst possible week that I could have been assigned to moderate for whatever reason, then just chit chat with your group. You can use the messages tool within ReggieNet or just email each other and come up with a different order of who's going to moderate when, and then just let me know and I'll revise it here in ReggieNet. So you're not locked into who does it then. I just want to know so that I know who I'm expecting to moderate different units. So, I think that that's it. Again, be sure you read over the assignment guidelines and evaluation criteria in Unit 1 on ReggieNet, and let me know if you have any questions. At this point, you should move on to the introduction to correspondence theories.